Right, guys, welcome to the second part of our meeting. I'm just making my arrangements and I recorded the previous session, so you'll be able to watch it should you want to. First of all, can you all hear me? Can I have a response?
Yes, sir.
Very good. In the second part,
Yes,
I'm going
sir.
to discuss about the my perception and add a little bit of historical perspective. First of all, what you said in Google Glass is absolutely true. I would assume that at the time this was introduced as a technology for navigation, first of all, and some of the augmented reality stuff that we have today. But back then, it wasn't seen as a viable solution. The price of the glass was high, first of all, which is not always an easy thing for the customers to buy it. And it is not a product that you would like to carry all the time from the customer perspective. So in short, it was not very accessible and it perceived as a niche thing rather than a necessity. This is a big issue about the project management. One of the most important reasons why software projects fail is because the developers or the company goes over the top. They do not consider their position from the customer perspective, and they automatically assume stuff because of the people around them, because of the environment that they are in. For whatever reason, they assume that people would need something that they would actually want to create. But just because you are creating something unique, something new, something exciting, a gadget or even software, and just because you can do it doesn't mean that people actually need that. Particularly if you're going to put a price on it, you should do your market research very, very well. Who can afford this product? What could they do with it? And even if the product itself is not for everyone and it's like for a group of people in the society, then you should give good reason for those people to buy it. And I wouldn't say they are definitely failed projects for sure, but I will assume that they are regardless good lessons that we can learn from as society and move on. By the failure of these glasses, I think the augmented reality shift platforms more on the mobile, and it worked very well. Nowadays, we use a lot of augmented reality tools on our phones to support education, to navigate, to find places, to even entertain ourselves, and share our posts and so forth. So it helped us to perceive a different approach on how we can apply these technologies to other media. An important disadvantage of this glass, I would say, was the reason that not everyone liked wearing glasses. Particularly, it's not something you would want to carry all the time with you, where you carry a phone all the time. So that is why it wasn't very accessible. And I think that is one of the reasons, because of its niche product, because of its accessibility to people, that this product disappeared. You might be right, Raman, that this product might come back in the future. We don't know that. But even if they manage to come back, it's not going to be like a mobile phone. Because, like I said, not everyone wants to wear a glass, but everyone has a phone. So this is why anything you do for the mobile platform is much more accessible than a specific niche gadget that you carry with you. So if you want the people to use it, it must be accessible to them. And that is a good lesson we should learn from this. The second reason is much more interesting, the Google Plus. Google Plus wasn't actually this invented for people to communicate or social media platform. The idea here why Google Plus established is because Google wanted their technologies to merge and communicate with one another. They had these distributed technologies and they wanted to handle them under one umbrella through one platform. So one of the big differences that Google wanted to create is you could, by creating a Google Plus account, you will be able to manage your YouTube channel, your YouTube profile, your other Google services such as documents or whatever you use as Google products under one umbrella. But they didn't consider an important aspect. Why would I do that? This is their need more than my need. And again, they fall into that trap. Basically, Google forced their agenda, forced their needs to their customers so that they want them to behave in a certain way so that they can combine all these products under one umbrella instead of creating another solution that would actually be needed by the customers. They went into a business need and introduced that need as if it is a need of the customers. And it wasn't. And that is why one of the most important reasons is that it just didn't create that mainstream image that people would need something like this. And as you said, it arrived very late into the game. By the time that Google Plus emerged, Facebook was very well established. And despite that, it created some kind of, a shake on the business side because competition is always, something that we look a bit, as businesses look a bit cautious. It went into the game quite late. By the time that Google Plus was introduced, Facebook was already in business for more than a couple of years now. They established their systems, they were very settled down, so they were taking their approach already. And when you came into the play, you were already using a social media platform and you already had a lot of friends on it, you already had all the social interactions needed for it. And now that you have this, just because Google Plus needed to merge your accounts, your YouTube profile, your whatever Google services all together, you didn't see as a need for yourself. The users didn't see that as something I need, so they just abandon it. And if you actually went at the time to Google Plus, it was more of these niche people using them, or the companies trying to market their products on it, or it just went to some kind of weird business direction rather than actual people using it to communicate. And it wasn't very friendly either. Some of the stuff that delivered on Google Plus came very late, and it wasn't as friendly as Facebook. So it just didn't give enough reason for people to use these products because the market research wasn't done very well on this side. And this is why the software project failed. They didn't actually address to the customer needs. It was Google who needed Google Plus, not us. And that is why the project failed. And I that is my, of course, my opinion, I think. But this is one of the reasons why the project didn't work very well for them. So these are traps that you can easily fall into in software project management, such as even big companies, someone like Microsoft making Windows for decades now, they can release of a Windows version that is completely not suitable to the customer needs. And that is only because they can go over the board and not predict the outcome. So just because in large projects, people have experience or a company has decades of experience in doing something, doesn't mean that every project they're gonna manage is gonna be a wonderful uh, idea or wonderful product or service. So there had been software projects in the past that were very established, very well, big companies doing them, and they had a huge experience in the area. And regardless of their position, these projects unfortunately failed. So this is another reason why our field is probably one of the most difficult ones, because as you can see, the experience that you have in one particular software is not always transferable to the next, even if you do the same stuff over and over again. That is because the customer needs change. The people who are using Windows nowadays is not the same people from 15 years ago. New people emerge. Of course, a person can be, they have been using the same software or newer versions for a long period of times, but the customer profile changes over the time as well as their needs. Whenever you look at to the other disciplines, however, this is not always the case. When you do a bridge in, let's say, 100 years ago, it is used to cross, a river. And if you do a bridge nowadays, more or less, the requirement will be the same. You wouldn't expect anything anymore from a bridge. It is just a thing there that will allow you to access or cross a river or a lake or whatever that is, where the way that we look at the software project management is not the same as in even 10 years ago. So this is why I would say, once again, emphasize that software project management is the most difficult management in the world, uh, at least among the engineering discipline. So some of the problems we can talk under the umbrella of software project management is accepting a forced schedule without sustainable data and analysis. Again, the companies, the managers, the people can go over the board, and because of their excitement, because of not really sitting down and predicting what do they need, their market research and what kind of analysis they have to make, they can go over the board and force a schedule that is not sustainable. And this often happens in software project management, and unfortunately, it affects the team in inhumane conditions sometimes, particularly in interactive media development. Unfortunately, people are expected to work over 12, 13 hours a day, and how companies solve this problem is they put gyms, they put cafes, they put restaurants, they put playrooms in the company itself, and they try to motivate them so that they wouldn't leave the company, stay in there and continuously work. This sometimes backfires because of the stress of the work, because of the unsustainable conditions, unsustainable data to support the force schedule. Another important problem you might see is assuming higher number of stops that will achieve better results. This is again a cancer in our field. If you are working on a mobile project, let's say, and you are only two people, and your company says, okay, I'm going to hire two more, so it will double the effort so that you will finish this, let's say, in half time. That is not always the case. Just because you increase the number of people working in a project, you cannot automatically assume that it will be completed in a shorter time. In fact, if you have more people in this project, those people will probably argue more and more with one another of following this approach and that approach and putting their own perspective into it. And then that will essentially result the project to slow down rather than going higher. So it's not always that case that you can assume, okay, this project is going slow, let me hire more people. And just because you hire more people, the project will go faster. That is not a viable solution. Taking instinct-based decisions rather than understanding what the customer needs. Again, an important trap. just as we seen in Google smart glasses, just because they saw this as something that they can achieve, they can implement, they can see that, oh, this is the next level technology, oh, this is what we should present. We are a high-tech company, we should present new products, we should, lead the people to the next level of technology. Just because people have these enthusiasm, these instinct-based uh, whatever decisions, it doesn't mean that what customer needs. You need to sit down. An important part of HR is actually making sure to meet the customer requirements, and that is why they are trying to handle it in small cycles or in an iterative interactive environment, so that they would break down those customer requirements and understand them better. Because there are a lot of decisions done by management just because they think in a certain way without actually backing up those decisions with customer requirements. Building the project around what the customer needs rather than building the project around what the company needs rather than the customer needs. Exactly what happened in Google Plus. We didn't need Google Plus. Google needed Google Plus, and hence the project failed. In the future, they might arise it again. Well, I highly doubt so. I don't think they can rival right now with Facebook anymore. It's just gone, probably. But essentially, the way that they approach this is that they needed it more than us, and that is not gonna work in their favor ever. Again, you are doing a software project for the customers. It is vital to understand their requirements, at least when you build up the project, and more importantly, throughout this project as well. So it is a continuous process to scan the customer requirements, particularly in long runs. If you're going to build up a big project, that will be for next year or the year after, because those people who provided their opinion today are not going to be the same people in 2 years. The profile can completely change. So it is vital to understand the customer requirements and accept the reality that these requirements continuously change. And another important problem is that not adapting to the change fast enough. Basically, how Microsoft responded to MSN Messenger, as we talked in the previous lectures. MSN Messenger was very popular back in the days, around 15 years ago, or Flash games, if you remember Flash games, 10 years ago, they were very popular. But like we discussed in the previous lectures, these technologies diminished and they disappeared because they didn't respond to mobile development fast enough. By the time that there was a Windows was forcing something called Windows phones. Do you remember those Windows phones? And they were trying to rival iPhone and Android phones at the time with their own operating system and stuff like this. So they were like, okay, we have these agenda, we're gonna support this, we're gonna support that on the mobile platform. And by the time that they made those products available for Android and iPhone explicitly, it was a bit too late. The other messengers, the other mobile services took over. And again, the nature of a technology, such as in Flash case, wasn't very suitable to adapt to the fast changing environment, such as the mobile platform, and hence why these technologies disappeared. One of the important lessons that we should learn is most majority of the engineering disciplines, they do not face these problems. It is specific in our discipline. Like there is no other field in the world that the customer requirements change as much as in ours. There are no other fields that will assume that you can just hire extra people to work in the extra project and it will go faster. There is no other company, other fields in the industry that the companies make so many decisions because of their needs rather than the customer needs. And there is no discipline in the world or no field of work in the world that has to adapt to the changing environment as much as we do. Hence why I will argue again and again that software management is probably the most difficult management in the world, particularly in engineering discipline, because there are multiple things that you got to manage. It's not an easy job. It's definitely the experience is not always transferable. Okay, and more importantly, software project management, sometimes they do not only manage the people under their team, but they have to manage the stakeholders, convince them that this is the right path. Because stakeholders tend to have a certain agenda of thinking. They will look at the stock market value, they will look at what is profitable. And that is not always the way to go. Many of the stakeholders, for example, in the software business, they want to play in the China market because China has, a big population, and a lot of people have a certain way of thinking, a certain way of products and services they use there. But these people have their own software and their own way of thinking, their own culture, and it's so much different than the Western one, such as the Google services or Facebook. They are not available in China officially because Chinese government, they strictly access to these platforms. So they do not have this open way of using the international software, but rather they use their own software. And because of their organizational culture, the way that they perceive some software is so much different than ours. And stakeholders want to get into that business, but it's not always how we develop the software in the Western culture. That is not the way to go, such as, like I said previously, majority of the mobile games in Western culture are played when we have to wait our friend to arrive, or when we are just, passing time, or when we wait a bus and stuff like this, where this is an active thing in the Chinese culture. They actually competitively play those interactive games. And where in the Western culture, this is more of a pastime. So the way that how this impact, because they want to go into the China market, sometimes software project managers struggle to find a balance in between how the product, how the services, how the product is going to be developed according to the country. So it's not always even transferable 100% to adapt a certain product to different countries, because every single country has a different kind of culture. Another example can be Netflix. Some of the TV shows, different TV shows in different countries are licensed, so they cannot, even though they have the same shows, you could have the same show, but the seasons could be different because the license change. And as software managers, they have to address these issues, and it's not always an easy task. So I'm gonna stop in here. In the next lecture, we're gonna discuss more and more about software management, and I will also try to show you how you can a simple activity, basically how you can estimate the time, the dependencies to achieve a project end date. There are some scheduling methods being used in the software world that we can actually, based on task duration and dependencies, we can calculate the release date of a software. There are some practices that we can use, and we're going to see some of these hopefully in the next lectures. So before I end up today's lecture, do you have any questions? Anything you would like to discuss? Yes, Rawant.
It's about the assignment, but
Yes, go ahead.
For the software engineer, for choosing the topic,
Yes.
for choosing which I have to do? Does it because the last time I remember you told us that we will wait until we check all the tools, everything. But I would like to ask you about this. When we will choose our topic. When we will send it to you.
Next week. Next week on Tuesday we have a class, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Next.
This weekend you just discuss with your peers. Discuss at least 3 topics that you would like to take, because obviously if you do not arrive the first, your first topic might be selected. So select 2 or 3 topics among your team members who you're going to work with. You have to decide that who's going to have the roles, which roles you want to have. Okay, so discuss that and fill the form that I showed you on Moodle. Did you see the form that I uploaded?
Yes, sir. You just even explained to us, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't check it, but you explained to us. I saw in the video. I didn't check
Okay.
it yet in the Moodle.
Okay. So what you need to do is just decide who you want to work with. I'm giving you a time, one week actually, because we are all apart from one another. We are not physically meeting anymore. So it might be difficult to reach out those people. Maybe some of them didn't come today. I don't know. So just reach out to those people. Make sure that your team members are willing to work with you no matter what. My Moodle is not working at all. Look, can you see my screen?
The same thing with me, sir. Not just you.
Moodle is not working at all right now. It's like completely gone. It's weird. Anyway.
If I'm not wrong, there's too many users. That's why. Oh, if
Yeah.
I'm not wrong.
Yeah. Right now, don't worry about the attendance. Someone said, James, I'm trying to log in for attendance. Look, at these circumstances, I really don't care about attendance. If you're just going to come to for attendance to my courses, don't come. It's okay. Don't come. I will not fail you from attendance. Okay. It's just that I don't really enjoy people coming to my courses just for the attendance. This is not a primary school. This is not secondary school. You should come here to learn, to discuss with your peers. You should come to my lectures actually because you are worried. You are worried about your future. You should come to my lectures because you want to learn from my experience, and you should come to my lectures because you want to have a job. If you're just going to come for attendance, just don't come. It's okay. I'm not going to fail you. All right? I'm not that kind of person. I am here just to help you. Okay? I am not even enforced to do this many lectures. Basically, my instructions from the rectorate office is to record 40 minutes video and upload it, and maybe arrange a discussion with you once a week. But I'm not doing that. As you can see, I come every week and I still try to help you despite the conditions, despite that they are against my favor, against everyone's favor. I'm not saying that the university wanted us to deal with this situation in a harsh manner. Don't misunderstand me. They're just not ready for this, I think. Not ready to handle this many concurrent users at one point. And because our university is not designed for this. So they weren't ready for this pandemic, obviously. So they're trying to do their best. But basically, I don't have to even do the lectures anymore. I'm just doing that because of you. You understand? So please, if you're going to come to my lectures, come because you want to share your experiences and because you want to learn. All right? Don't ask me attendance. I don't care about it. Seriously. All right? Another important thing is if you want to discuss something about project, is something that you don't understand, I'm always here to help you guys. So if you want to share something, please don't be shy. All right, it's important to talk in this lecture. In fact, I could have given you these slides and tell you, okay, go and read them. I already created a lot of slides. If you read them, they're very plain, you can understand anything. But I'm logging here because I want you to express your feelings, maybe your worries, maybe something you don't understand. Maybe you applied a job, you saw something related to software project management or engineering, and you want to share your experiences. This is very important. This should be an interactive course. If I'm going to be the only one logging here and talking, then it's not interactive, then it's instructive. And I don't want to be instructive. I want to be interactive. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Good. So please be more active in this course. So for the last time, do you have any questions that you want to ask? Okay, so I'm going to end up this lecture here. In the next week, we're going to meet again. Please, throughout this week, read the assessment that I gave you. Make sure to form your groups. And by next lecture, I'm going to take up your groups. Yes, Darlington.
Yes, I just wanted to ask about the projects. After we pick our topics, are you going to have the time to meet with each of the groups separately to kind of fine-tune the requirements? Obviously, while working on the project, we're supposed to work with the customer, like I said before. So we need to first of all determine the full requirements. You already wrote down the projects that we're supposed to work on the topics, but we need to get like more detailed requirements of what we need to do with those projects and how the application is supposed to work.
Yes, good question. First of all, this is just the first step of a series of projects that you're going to take up. Right now, I just gave you the first half. In this half, there are specific focuses in the projects that I give you. In this first project, my focus is you being a team working in a process model such as Scrum and learning tools how to communicate with one another and how to manage these activities. My focus here is not about defining user requirements. That's going to be my next project, which I'm going to give you after this one. When you complete this one, you will have another one, and the focus there will be based on defining user requirements, drawing diagrams such as use case diagram, sequence diagram, understanding, refining user requirements, dividing them as functional, non-functional requirements. So that is going to be the focus of next project. My focus in this one is to make sure that you can act as a team, first of all, use or follow the process model you select, and more importantly, be fond of these tools because the tools that I gave you are actually being used in the industry. People use these tools. People create Kanban boards in our software discipline. So if you use these tools and learn them before you join to a company, if you learn GitHub, if you know how to handle GitHub and join to a company, it will be much better for you to work there. And more when you show some experience that you have in your CV about using these tools, such as you have experience in using Kanban, for example, in your CV, that makes you more employable because trust me, I check LinkedIn job vacancies every single week on software engineering. Every single week, I go LinkedIn and check job offers. And they are not only looking for someone who is experienced in C++ or Java or whatever technology, they are also looking for people who have experience in process models. They can work in a Kanban, or they can fit into a Scrum structure, or they can work in an agile development environment. And if you do not have any experience in agile development, your chances of being hired by a big company is very low, even though you can have the technical skills such as a very good knowledge in Java or mobile development. Because you lack the experience in software development, they wouldn't hire you. So I would suggest you to practice these things. That is my goal in this project, to make sure that you are introduced at least to these tools, so that when you form a CV and apply to a job, at least you could show that you have some experience and increase your chances of being hired. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, for the user requirements, you can, of course, communicate to me Either in the lectures, you can email to me and I'll get back to you eventually, or we can even arrange separate section with your group members and we can discuss, okay? But my primary approach is to discuss everything in the lectures because you might have a certain problem and maybe other people have the same problem as well. So just by sharing your opinion, someone can get inspired and they can know how to handle the problem as well. Okay? Is that clear?
Yes, clear.
Okay, very good. So I'm gonna end the lecture today. We already done 80 minutes. I thought it would be like 40 minutes today, but we went over the board again and it was almost 80 minutes. So I'm gonna stop here and I'll see you guys next week. Take care, have fun, enjoy.